900 is?
228-900. No, it's not a board member. I don't know.
I can just let him in. Sorry.
Might be Viridia.
Right. It
Oh,
probably
I let him in.
is.
They disappeared.
That probably is Mark.
Wrong number.
Oh,
All right, we're good to go on my end.
Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order, and if we could have roll call, please.
Tuccini,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
New,
Here.
Veranek,
Here.
Allen,
Here.
Gillette.
Here.
So we have a quorum. We have everyone present.
Great. I'm looking for a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved. Dennis.
If we could have a second.
Second, Matt.
Any discussion, changes? Okay, all in favor, say yes, yes.
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 All opposed, say no. All right, that passes. Next, we have the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from October 15th. Looking for a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Looking
Matt.
for a second.
Second, Dennis.
Okay, great. Any issues, additions, corrections, problems, discussion from anybody? No. Okay, all in favor, say yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All opposed, say no. That passes. Next, we have the treasurer's report. Mary?
Good morning. Well, I hope you all are able to see the 3 pages of the financial summary that I was able to provide for as of November 30th. This includes activities for both the months of October and November. So as we started out the fiscal year, we welcomed Customs House and the UP State Bank projects to our list of funds that we've been tracking. So on your summary of revenues and expenditures and the balance sheet, you're going to see those kind of roll into the final 2 columns of each of the projects. The nice thing about these reports for the first part of the year is that it's very easy to see what activity has been going on in each project because that's the year-to-date information is also the monthly activities for October and November. So in October, we did recognize the 75% of the 2020 summer tax capture. So that brought on board over 1.6 million in state captures and 1.8 million in local captures. And if you look at that summary of revenue and expenditures, you can see how that's allocated among all of the funds. Now for the expenditures, our activities tend to have a lot of the expenditures roll out in the very beginning of the fiscal year. So you're going to see a lot of our projects are already at their budgeted amounts. But anyway, for October and November, we're over $2.7 million in expenditures. The bulk of that is going to be the $1.78 million that we approved to the developer reimbursements. And we approved that at the, that was been the September budget meetings and stuff like that. And then we had our debt service allocation, and we also moved out the $250,000 in transfers between all the projects. So we ended November 30th with $6 million in fund balance. 2.1 million is allocated for debt payments and other bond-related activities with the city. We have 2.7 million. That's part of the DLP approval, which we have for, we've already approved some of the allocations to them when they submit their eligible expenditures, which leaves us with 1.1 million to finish out the rest of the fiscal year. And I've given you a breakdown of how those funds are allocated by project. So that's it. We were rolling out. It's a busy first couple of months. Things should calm down again. We're going to have, in December, we'll recognize some of the winter captures as well. And you'll see that in the next report.
Thanks, Mary. Do we have any questions for Mary?
No.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Looking for a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say yes, yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. That passes. Next is public comment. Do we have anybody for public comment today?
No, we do not.
Okay. Next announcements by the chair. I just wanted to mention, I think that I had the library meeting since our last board meeting. So I don't think I've talked about the library meeting yet, but I just wanted to mention that it went well. It wasn't surprising. Many of the issues that we've heard raised by members of the public and around the library did come up. There were a couple board members, and they had a lot of staff involved as well, which they had really good questions. But a lot of the concerns were what we have been talking about ourselves, and that is there's a perception by many in the community that we are, stealing money from the library, and we went over that in detail. And I think we made some real progress to explain even to the most skeptical of the folks over there that is not, in fact, what's happening. We'd also talked about some of the other kinds of issues. There's sometimes a perception that we're approving projects that maybe aren't the best things for the community. Too much development near the lake shore, too much high-end stuff, not enough workforce housing, that sort of thing. And we talked about that as well. And I told them that, I think, and Mac and Sherry were there too, and they had a lot to say as well, but I told them that those are big issues. They're bigger than just the brownfield, but they're on our plate as well. And we care about those things, and we expect more controversy on those things. And we hope to be transparent. And anyway, I think it went well. I think we made progress with the library. It definitely gave me the idea that we're on the right track to be ramping up our public outreach, because some of these same issues will, I think, keep coming up. But if you have any questions, it was a pretty long meeting. We went into a lot of details, and I don't know, Mac or Sherry, if you have anything else you want to add, but I thought it went well.
Yes, I did think it went well. As I talked to the library director after that, and I think they're very pleased with the opportunity to really understand the brownfield and the impact.
And we talked about also that, there are things that they might wish that we could do that we probably can't do under the law. And so, it's just the way things are built. There's, it's not possible for us to just, like, for instance, give them money for a library project. I mean, it's not the kind of thing that we can do. So I think they understood that as well. Again, I think we made progress. We'll need to do some more into the future. That's all I've got.
All right. Well, great job on that. That sounds perfect.
Thanks.
Did a really nice job, David. I think one other thing is they appreciated the opportunity to provide us input as well about their issues, their thoughts, their concerns. And so it was great to have the kind of back and forth and exchange to hear what concerned them and be able to respond to that, understand it, but also talk about our constraints and what we kind of can't do. So.
Yeah, the thing I like best about it, to tell you the truth, is I forget her name, but there was one board member who was, I think I would say she was pretty sour about what we've been up to at the beginning. And by the end, she was still in the mood to be mad at us, but was finding it much harder to be mad at us. And I think we are reaching even people who have a lot of skepticism. And so I think that's a good step. And then some of the other folks, I think, understood and accepted completely what we had to say about some of the issues. And so I think we made progress on all fronts there.
That's our goal, to make people less mad at us.
That's right. That is always one of our goals.
And we were successful. Yes.
And it's important to realize that you can never completely achieve that goal, and that's okay. Just lessen how mad people are, and that's enough. Okay. Next, we have a report from the executive director, Sherry.
Okay. Usual communications with partners, city staff. Had a conversation with some individuals on a potential project, and we're waiting for another phone call on that. Had a phone call with Greg Zarnik of UPHS regarding the Beacon House, and we're going to have an additional one on that to see if we can kind of work all of the issues that we talked about at the last meeting in support for Beacon House. And the hospital seems to be very supportive of that. We're just trying to figure out the mechanism. Participated in the build-up phone call, which was the Women in Economic Development call. Did want to comment that with Mike retiring, our city manager, it has been such a pleasure to work with him, and I'm sorry to see him retire, but happy for him. Ron Keefe is also retiring, and Suzanne Larson, who is our Brownfield attorney, will be continuing to be our Brownfield attorney. I was in communication with her to see if that would change, and she said at this point she will stay in there as Brownfield attorney and city attorney. So we received the signed off development agreement with Fairfield. We're still waiting on sign off on the townhouses. Had a request by the redevelopment ready community aspect of MEDC. They're putting together apparently some information on all the boards, the municipal boards, and the kinds of orientation they do. And so I'm working on something like that to get to them, to get to Dennis, because as you know, our orientation typically has been meeting with the board member individually, going through all the binders, that sort of thing, which, you know, we certainly continue to do, but they're interested in knowing what some of the formats are. So I'll be sharing all that with them. And then we have an MEDC follow-up call with regarding the UP State Bank on Monday with the city and the MEDC. Before we take it, we talked about interfacing with the legislature, but at this point, we're going to work with MEDC in another call and see if we've made any progress there. So things continue, and I just want to say, you know, what a pleasure it is to work for all of you. It's been an amazing year, and I think there's some pretty amazing things ahead. So thank you for the opportunity to work for you. It's been great, great fun. Any questions?
Well, thanks, Sherry. And I mean, right back at you. It's been a pleasure working with you as well, and looking forward to this coming year as well.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, project updates, Founders Landing.
Well, we'll be talking about that as an item down on 11A, so we can probably, unless Matt has something to put in there, I think we can move on to DLP as mentioned. Well, and again, that's an item. We'll be looking at some of the invoices that have come in.
Sure, I just wanted to throw in on Founders Landing. Yeah, we do have the collateral agreement. We did, as you mentioned, get the execution with the Fairfield. And also, Sean, you may want to update on the Parcel 2A acquisition there, or I can as well.
Parcel 2A, we are looking at selling that next week. We were hoping for Friday, but it got pushed back, I think, one last time until next Tuesday or Wednesday. So
the townhouses will be closing and probably moving forward on that with Act 3D1 work plan for vapor mitigation and moving forward on some of the brownfield eligible activities that were allocated. So that should be coming in a future meeting. Just want to talk.
Great.
Go ahead, Sharon.
DLP updates. I know we have a big ticket item today, but I don't know if there's any quick updates.
I think just the communication with Beacon House is the only other aspect of that, which is continuing.
One part maybe on the Beacon House is working through the process to try and arrangements with DLP and Beacon House for the financial arrangements and eligible activities. Once that is kind of sorted through, then we'll probably be coming back to the board in January with potentially an amended brownfield plan to increase eligible activities to accommodate the Beacon House for local tax capture and a quick amendment to the development and reimbursement agreement and post-closing agreements that increase the amount of dollars, if that's kind of how it works out, for reimbursement to DLP. So there'll be some action items in January, we anticipate.
And it seems looks like everyone's so far on board with that. The other parties, that course looks good to everybody.
Yeah, I had a good conference call with the DLP folks and kind of walking through some of the details and arrangements and how we might do that. But yeah, that appears to be moving forward in a real positive direction.
Okay.
David, I just have a question. What is parcel 2A? I guess I forgot which one that is down there.
Those are the townhouses. It would be
Okay.
north of Fairfield Inn,
So
between
it's between the hotel and the
One Marquette Place.
observation thing. Okay.
Near the
thanks.
beefaroo, the old beefaroo. That's now a
Exactly.
marijuana place.
Well, actually, it is it's between the Fairfield and One Marquette Place.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, part of that parcel.
All right.
Where the townhouses are going to go.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Viridia, Liberty Way.
I don't
Any
know if
update?
Mark is present. Apparently not. No report on Viridia Liberty Way.
Okay. 231 patisserie. Anything?
Just the item that we'll be discussing, the brownfield eligible activity invoice review and approval.
Okay. And Customs House updates.
Mac, do you have anything new on Customs House?
No report at this point.
Okay.
We'll actually get back in touch with the Gregories to kind of see what their plans are, but it's kind of in their court now to
Mhm.
be their work. So
The city is looking at completing the purchase of the Barriga Street extension either on Friday or Monday.
Yeah.
great. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
It is.
And then Upper Peninsula State Bank, you already mentioned a little bit.
Yeah, and a number of phone calls back and forth, and the item that we'll be discussing down. I guess we don't have that down there. Well,
And I mean, I don't know if my impression, I mean, just from participating in a little bit of what's been going on, I think it's worthwhile to keep pressing, but my read so far is I don't have a lot of hope that we're going to persuade MEDC that they're wrong about their decision. But I mean, it's worth pursuing, but just for your information, my read is I doubt that we're going to persuade them. So.
Yeah, I think in this particular case, we're having a conference call with like the senior vice president of MEDC, sort of, kicked up that level to be able to make a case. We always kind of have our staff people go and talk to the mysterious leadership team, and they come back and rule upon high of what they want to do. And so this opportunity to come directly. I think the most important thing is that 72% of the ask for MEDC is for public infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's a partnership for the city. It's not necessarily supporting an unnecessary project or anything else. It's supporting public infrastructure. And I think that's the kind of claim, hopefully, that we can highlight a little bit more and say, hey, we're in a partnership here. This is opportunity. Brownfield TIF is different. And hopefully we can make that case. But
yeah, we'll probably need to make some of that same case some other places. I mean, that's something that came up in the library meeting. Why are you doing the Burger King thing? That's come up with at least one city commissioner. Why is Brownfield involved in this? So I think we can do a better job maybe of letting people know the public infrastructure side of it, and as well as the vapor mitigation requirements, some of the stuff that people don't necessarily realize that's going on there. So we can continue that. Good.
And I'll just also add, I've gotten some information from the environmental consult Trimedia on the project about the vapor mitigation system, and we'll be putting that together and putting that into an Act 3-1 work plan to send to Eagle for their approval. They're much more, if it's eligible, it's approved. If it's reasonable and necessary, then it's approved. So that's a little more straightforward.
Any questions from anybody about the updates before we move on? Okay. We don't have any unfinished business, it looks like. So we're now to new business. Founders Landing, this is 11A. So we've got a recommendation. So Mac, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Yep, I'll provide this. I think we've had some discussion about this. This is this arrangement is fairly common. Whereas if a developer defaults or there's some problem or issue, that the bank has rights to come to the Brownfield Authority and say, hey, you need to give us the money. These folks have defaulted on their loan. So it's a common arrangement. It was also done in the first phase for the parking deck. The second and final phase for the parking deck has this same arrangement, but they needed amended agreement to do that. The agreement is actually between Landing Development Group 2 and Incredible Bank, but we have to acknowledge and know that that arrangement, that assignment is in place. And so we're asking for approval of a municipal certificate that consents to that amendment and reaffirmation of the collateral assignment agreement. So it's basically a security arrangement that they have rights to TIF if there's any defaults or issues or problems. And we know about that, so we know who to pay and under those certain circumstances.
So, and we can have more discussion, but so I'm looking for a motion. I'm just going to read this. And of course, this can be amended if you wish to do a different motion, but I'm looking for a motion to approve and authorize the chair to sign a municipal certificate consenting to the amendment and reaffirmation of collateral assignment of developer agreement between Incredible Bank and the Landing Development Group 2 LLC for the amended development and reimbursement agreement between the Landing Development Group 2 LLC, Marquette Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, and the City of Marquette, dated May 27th, 2015, and recommended approval by this to the City Commission. I did that so you wouldn't have to read it.
And I'll also just add that part of the development and reimbursement agreement provides for these assignments, and, including TIF reimbursement of rights, including TIF reimbursement, and the consent cannot be unreasonably withheld. So if we have a really good reason, we can say no, but we have to have a good reason to say no. And I think Barry's on the line. If he signed on the dotted line there, so if he wants to add anything, can do that.
No, nothing really to add. That's again just standard procedure here. So just putting it on the line.
So if somebody wants to make that or a different motion,
David, so moved.
looking for a second.
Second.
Great. Any discussion, questions, issues?
No, I'll be back with you, David, on getting the signature on the document and perhaps doing it at the Incredible Bank, and we can get the signatures at the same time.
Okay, great. Yeah, I saw we had to have a witness and stuff. So, all right, just let me know. Today I'm busy till about noon, but other than that, any time after noon today or tomorrow or next week is fine.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll also just add the City Commission approved their municipal consent on Monday night.
Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor, say yes. Yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. All right, that passes. Next is new business 11B, 231 West Patisserie, invoice review. Anything here, Mac, that we need to know about other than, is it pretty straightforward?
Yep, the documentation of invoices were submitted by Bromley Hall, and went through those. Had a couple of adjustments, but for the most part, he did a real good job of putting those together. The one unique part about this is they had greater expenditures than what the Brownfield plan provided for. So we can only go up to the maximum of eligible expenditures, which is 219,355, and that's the recommendation.
And they know that, obviously, and I mean, that's not a surprise. But
Yes, it's been communicated, and I apologize for using a bad template or another template there. So the motion does say nestle down, but it's supposed to say 231 West Patisserie.
I'm not going to read it this time. I'm just going to ask for a motion to approve the payment of the invoice for $219,355.
So moved, Dennis.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Any discussion, further questions, issues? All in favor, say yes.
Back, hang on.
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. That passes. And now the big one, 11C, Dlp invoice review.
And on this one, Nestle Down is going to be very excited to receive a $2 million check as well here. I made the same template error there. I apologize for that, but this one was a little more detailed than the other, but as you can see, a lot of the data and information was provided there. There were some significant adjustments. I can kind of walk through those if you'd like. And also, I wanted to get this in, didn't have a chance to kind of work through all this with Greg. And so we may be coming back and, with some additional information, with some justification. I didn't understand, for example, what, relocation was, what services and scope were in a couple of things there. And so, in the big picture, we may be coming back with some adjustments, but I wanted to get this to you so that we could make that reimbursement of funds that we're holding. And I'm very comfortable with the recommendation, at this point. If you'd like, I can walk through a couple of the key points there.
I'd like to, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. If you want to look on the of the PDF, that is the page 25 of the PDF, if that's where people are at, the Skanska Klossner page there. Let me just get to that point. There were a couple of items that were listed under environmental remediation that I perceived as non-environmental activities, concrete removal, unsuitable wet soils. The big ticket item was the regrading of excess soil throughout the site there for $362,000. That is typically not necessarily an environmental activity, unless it would be part of a specific soil management plan that the environmental consultant had identified there. So there is a possibility that that would be an environmental activity. At its face value, grading and land balancing is a site preparation activity. So that may be one example where if we get a report that says, hey, this is part of the whole soil management program that Trimedia identified as an environmental response activity, that may move from the site preparation into the environmental. Part of the problem or construct of these is that there isn't a way to move dollars from environmental to non-environmental. We have an upfront fixed approval by Michigan Strategic Fund that says, here's the total amount that we're going to approve for non-environmental, and you can't go above that. On the environmental side, that approval is always kind of done, piecemeal, or maybe, has some flexibility to it in there. But they were under in environmental and over in non-environmental. We can't switch between those two, unfortunately. So they're kind of capped at 6 million for non-environmental, and then at 4 million, that can be a little more flexible. You can move a little bit more easily from non-environmental to environmental, just the way that the state approvals work, but you can't go the other way. So in this case, there's some money that they expended that will not be reimbursed without some other kind of arrangement there. So those were that was kind of one of the bigger ticket items, is a little bit of the movement of dollars from environmental to non-environmental. And then if you go down to what would be page 27, I think 27, 28, 29 or so, that sort of shows the areas in yellow that I had questions about. This is the accounting ledger for DLP. They identified some things as like new facility capital. I'm not sure what that expense is. And so, that was to Trimedia, so it could well be environmental expense, but they also do other things. So there were a couple things that I did not approve, like the parking lot, as well, and landscaping services. But those items, they also have, the MGH hospital relocation. I'm not certain what those activities were. They may well be eligible, but wasn't certain of the scope. So that's how we may be coming back with some additional work that's done and some conversation.
So Mac, both the red and the yellow are not included in what we're approving for now?
That's correct.
All right, gotcha.
The red will likely not be, included, and kind of depending on what the definition and work scope is for new facility capital and hospital relocation, those will either be in or out. So.
And are most of the yellow and red in the non-environmental or the environmental?
Most are in non-environmental.
All right. And that's the one where we've hit the cap.
We hit the cap anyway.
Right, gotcha. All right, I understand.
So it may or may not, have an impact.
And so then the total, it's this I'm just trying to make sure I've got the right number that we're approving today. Is it it's the non-environmental and the environmental, so the total of $8,468,999.10?
That's correct.
And that's more than we have available to actually pay out at this point, right? But this will, as the TIFs come in, we'll pay that down.
That's right. That's the total obligation.
Gotcha.
Upon which each annual payment will be drawn down.
All right. That makes sense.
From which,
In that case, I'm looking for a motion to approve that amount.
So moved.
Looking for a second.
Second, Dennis.
So any discussion about this? Any questions? That made sense to me. If you have any questions, this is obviously a very big approval amount. So if you have any questions, don't be bashful. Go ahead and. Okay.
yeah, and like I said, we may be coming back with some adjustments one way or the other based on some additional information, which is not uncommon. We've had 4 or 5 for founders just based on different phases. So, whatever that number ends up to be is what Mary records as the long-term obligation. And then that's the drawdown and establishes the basis for interest as well. I will say that, kind of given, and I think, Mary, you may add in, but we accrue about $1.2 million a year. Is that kind of close to?
Yeah, that seems about accurate. Yep.
For DLP, I mean, that's along with paying the bonds off for the Municipal Services Center and the road improvements. That's $29 million worth of activity. So these guys are just have 10 million. So what's left over after those payments are made is 1.2. So the payout for DLP will be much quicker than the brownfield plan laid out, primarily because the amount of investment was twice as much as what we used a minimum level that was included in the memorandum of understanding. Use that minimum level, 170 million. Their actual build out was more like 350 million. So they have twice as much investment and twice as much revenue.
And that, by the way, is another thing that we brought up with the library, and we need to continue to bring up with the city commission and others. That's really good news. And the finance guys at the library totally got it. I mean, they were like, that's because they were projecting, they've got their books and they're projecting out based on that original brownfield plan. So this was very good news for them and good news for everybody. Anything else? Any other comments or questions? All right. All in favor, say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed, say no. That passes. That brings us back to public comments. And I don't think we still don't have anybody, unless Barry wants to say anything else. Okay.
Don't enter the queue.
Okay. And now we have comments from directors. I'll just go around my screen so we don't miss anybody. Matt, do you have anything?
Nope, just sounds, same thing. Sounds like the communications that need to happen with the public and other entities are happening. And it sounds like a really good start. Hopefully that keeps building. And I think that's really, really important aspect of all of this. So that's all.
Thanks. Rob?
All set.
Mary, sometimes I don't give you another chance, but I will also since you're on my screen right there. You got anything else today?
No, I'm good. Have a good holiday, everybody.
Callie?
No, I'm all good too. Happy holidays.
And Dennis?
Just real quick, I just want to let you know that we'll probably be this ad hoc housing commission task force that we're involved in. Probably we'll start working on our draft in January. Things got moved back, obviously, with COVID and city commission. And so I think we've kind of, I don't know if we've circled the wagons enough to get enough information, but I think based on the DDA's report that came out and some other things, I think we'll be looking at a lot of at least identifying issues for more affordable housing. I think the definition's been done, and obviously that was a kind of a big discussion, but I think the rest of it really is it's really going to boil down to really kind of the density issues and where it's going to be and things like that, and and parking is going to be huge, because I think as they allow, or if they allow in the long range plan, additional apartments or things above garages and stuff, then there'll be parking issues with that. And the biggest solution obviously is parking underground, but since we're pretty much on granite most of the places, that's going to be a little bit harder to do. So it's been an interesting process as the builders kind of want all the regulations removed to make it easier, and other people want more space and other people want less space. But I think that at least the initial draft that we'll start working on will come out. We're working on it in January, and I think, like I said, a lot of it will kind of follow what the DDA's recommendations were, and then some of the other things from the Planning Commission. And so I don't think there's going to be anything earth-shattering, at least in the initial discussions, but I think at least it's kind of coming to an end, and that should go in January or February to the City Commission. And then I think then they can start working on what they want to do for the affordable housing aspect. I think it's, it's just interesting because as we talked in this group, affordable housing definition changes from city to city to city. And so I think there's still a mind in some members of the community that it's going to be a lot less for affordable housing. I think the builders want less regulations because, it increases their costs. And I think I don't think they were shocked, but I think that a lot of the regulations that they have to comply with are based on the county, not by the city. So, so it's been kind of interesting, kind of dragging a little bit longer than probably it should have, and with some special interest. But we've had presentations from Grand Rapids and some of the other cities that have had these issues that kind of worked them through. And so it'll be interesting as we kind of get to the end where the next step will be. But I think that this group will be involved in some of that, obviously from the environmental remediation process, but it's really kind of where can we do it, what's available. There's not a lot of space available, and then where does it go? And then is it the same thing that, say, David had to deal with a library? Are we going to develop a lot of dense housing along the lakeshore where we have space, or are we going to save that for public use? And so that's just a quick and dirty little update.
Thanks. That was very interesting. Did I miss anybody? Oh, go ahead, Mac.
I just wanted to add in that the new project that Sherry was talking about is a potential for a workforce housing project. So kind of excited about that opportunity. Still have a long way to go, but just in the initial stages, looks like a good opportunity.
Great. Okay, well, happy holidays to everybody, and thanks for helping me make this a short meeting. That was very appreciated. And I think we're adjourned.
Bye, everybody.